Summary of Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. Pip is an orphan who lives with his sister Mrs. Joe and her husband, Joe Gargery, the town blacksmith, in southeast England. On Christmas Eve, Pip meets a freed prisoner in a leg iron who scares him into stealing food and a metal file for him. Pip takes the food from his sister's kitchen and the file from Joe's metal shop. The next day, Pip and Joe see soldiers catch the criminal wrestling with another escaped convict in the swamps. The convict Pip helped get out of jail covers Pip by admitting to stealing the food and file. Pip's part in the theft is not found out. Soon after, Pip is asked to start going to Sada's house to see rich Miss Havisham and her rude adopted daughter, Estella. Miss Havisham's fiancé left her 20 years ago, and she wants to get back at men by raising Estella to break their hearts. Estella's dislike of Pip's commonness makes Pip unhappy with his life as a blacksmith's trainee. He falls in love with Estella, and he judges himself by her standards even after he stops going to Sada's house. Pip works for Joe as an assistant, but his low standing makes him sad, so he tries to improve himself by studying on his own. When an intruder at the forge hits Mrs. Joe and hurts her brain, Pip thinks that Joe's mean junior helper, Orlick, is to blame. Biddy moves in to run the house and becomes Pip's friend. She tries to help Pip get over Estella, but she fails. One night, Mr. Jaggers tells Pip that an unknown customer wants Pip to be taught how to be a gentleman. Pip thinks that this customer is Miss Havisham and that he is quietly engaged to Estella. Joe and Biddy are sad that he is leaving, but Pip shows off his new status and goes to study with Matthew Pocket. In London, Pip lives with Herbert Pocket, Matthew's mild-mannered son, and the two become fast friends. Startop and Bentley Drummle, who has a bad temper and is the heir to a baronetcy, study with Pip. Bentley becomes Pip's enemy when he chases after Estella, who is now a beautiful woman. Pip also makes friends with Wemmick, who works for Mr. Jaggers. Wemmick is quiet and proper at work, but he is warm and friendly outside of work. Joe's trip to London is ruined because Pip spends a lot of money and acts like he's better than everyone else. Pip wishes Joe was more cultured, and he worries that hanging out with Joe will hurt his own social standing. Until he hears that Mrs. Joe has died, he doesn't go back to the forge. Even so, his stay is short. Back in London, Pip asks Wemmick for help to quietly invest in Herbert's future, which he thinks is the best thing he can do with his money or expectations. One night, Pip's friend finally tells him who he is. He is Provis, the criminal Pip helped on the marshes. While in exile, Provis saved a lot of money and sneaked back into England to see Pip. Pip is disgusted by Provis's behavior and crushed when he realizes he can't marry Estella. When he confronts Miss Havisham, she says she told Pip lies about Estelle just to make her selfish cousins jealous, and that Estelle will be getting married to Bentley Drummle. Miss Havisham sees she was wrong to take Estella's heart away when Pip tells her he loves her. She begs Pip to forgive her, which Pip does right away. A few days later, when Pip is back in London, he finds out that Estella is Molly, Provis's and Mr. Jaggers' maid, and Molly's daughter is Estella. Compayson, Miss Havisham's former fiancé and a sly person, was Provis's competition on the marshes. Compayson is looking for Provis in London, and Pip has a plan to get Provis out of England by boat. Before they can get away, Orlick gets Pip to go to the village swamps, where he tries to kill him, but Herbert stops him. Pip and Provis almost get away, but Compayson stops them. He then fights with Provis in the water until they both die. Provis is caught and found guilty of breaking out of the prison settlement of New South Wales without permission, but he dies of illness before he can be put to death. Pip gets ill. Joe takes care of him and pays off his bills. Once he is healthy again, Pip goes back to the town to marry Biddy. But when he gets there, he finds her already married to Joe. Pip goes with Herbert to another country to become a trader. When he comes back 11 years later, Joe and Biddy's son Pip too looks just like him, and he meets Estella on the site of the old Sada's house, which has been torn down. Estella has developed compassion as a result of her suffering, and the two of them decide to leave their past behind and start a new life together.
About the author. Charles Dickens was born to a Navy clerk and spent his early years in Kent, which is where Pip's village in Great Expectations is situated. When Charles Dickens was 10 years old, his family moved to London, and his father went to jail for not paying his bills. Dickens dropped out of school and worked in a shop that cleaned boots to help support his family. Later, he went back to school, but he dropped out when he was 15 to work as a law clerk, a court reporter, and a political writer before he decided to write full-time. Both in England and the United States, his books were a huge hit. Some of them, like Great Expectations, Bleak House, and Oliver Twist, are still read today. Dickens also started a theater group and All the Year Round, a magazine. He was married to Catherine Hogarth, but they were not happy together. Together, they had 10 children. Dickens died in 1870 and was buried in the Poets' Corner of Westminster Abbey.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.